We've got new gameplay for Resident Evil Requiem, where we finally get to see Grace in action and get a look at the game's new combat system. It's a short clip taken from the documentary Legendary Games Chronicles, Biohazard, which aired recently on the Japanese network NHK. This documentary focused on the development process and the challenges the early games in the series faced. It also featured major figures like Shinji Mikami and Hideki Kamiya, among others. During the show, they took the opportunity to reveal a short gameplay segment from Requiem, showing a combat scene between Grace and the new zombies. Thanks to this preview, we now have a clearer idea of what the core of the combat system will be like. Just as director Nakanishi mentioned, Requiem gives off a lot of Resident Evil 2 remake vibes, starting with the atmosphere and overall setting. In this case, it seems to take place either in the Wrenwood Hotel or the Rhodes Hill Medical Center, both of which look very dark with only a few lights here and there. It immediately reminded me of the hallways and staircases of the RPD.
The combat style feels a lot like the one in the second game. The over-the-shoulder camera, Grace's aiming style, the reticle system, and even the attack animations for both her and the zombies all really remind me of Resident Evil 2. But the more I watch it, the more it also seems influenced by the remakes of 3 and 4, and even Resident Evil 6, especially because the pace of the combat looks faster than in 2 and 3. It's hard to describe, but this gameplay felt like a strange mix between the gameplay of the second and the sixth entries, though I also noticed some elements from Revelations 2. Something that caught my attention is that the over-the-shoulder camera seems very close to Grace. For a moment, it even felt a bit uncomfortable, though I assume this is something that can be adjusted in the options menu. Another interesting thing is that even though Grace is a trained FBI agent, she seems to struggle a bit with aiming, especially keeping her sights steady on the target. You can actually see her shrug her shoulders a lot when firing, as if she were very tense. She also seems to adopt an isosceles shooting stance, which is normally recommended for balancing high-caliber weapons with strong recoil. But in this case, I think it shows that Grace isn't very used to firing weapons regularly, so she's relying on the stance that feels safest to her. It might even hint at her lack of experience in actual gun combat. Maybe this is a detail the devs added to show that Grace is easily scared and feels a lot of panic when facing the zombies. They've officially said that she'll start the story as someone very timid, but that she'll grow stronger as the game progresses, so this fits perfectly with what we see in the gameplay. Another good example is the zombie blood splashing when you shoot them, which shows the level of detail Capcom is putting into this entry. By the way, the person playing during the interview was director Koshi Nakanishi.
The preview also showed that Grace was carrying at least 3 weapons, though it's not clear exactly which ones. For now, we only saw her use a 9mm, and we also noticed that the weapon HUD is basically the same as the one in the remake of 4, which suggests there will be several types of pistols, shotguns, and rifles, plus maybe a few brand new weapons. The health icon or life bar becomes visible when Grace takes damage, showing whether she's in a caution state or in critical condition. I imagine this will be shown in more detail when we open the inventory menu. Another important point is the look of the zombies and how they attack. These infected stagger and move toward you at a semi-slow pace, but then they lunge with an animation speed that reminded me of Resident Evil 6. The best part is that they seem a lot more aggressive and a bit smarter this time. In fact, it looks like they try to surround Grace, so we'll really have to pay attention to our surroundings. On the other hand, Grace's movement animation is practically the same as Leon's and Claire's in Resident Evil 2, which honestly isn't a bad thing, since it looks pretty impactful when you're trying to escape from enemies. Lastly, it's worth mentioning that this gameplay was recorded from the censored Japanese version, so the uncensored version promises to be much more intense and with more gore.
But that's not the only new thing we got, because Insider Dusk shared a very interesting detail about Requiem's gameplay. He said the game will probably be the most dynamic Resident Evil we've had so far. Dusk said that Requiem was designed in a way that allows each player to experience different events, situations, or mechanics in every playthrough. This means that both the player's actions and the enemy's movements and encounters can change, thanks to the large number of actions available in the gameplay. As a result, every run will feel unique, And even if you replay the game or watch someone else's gameplay, things might unfold very differently from what you experienced in your own playthrough. It seems like Capcom is keeping this feature under wraps so that players can discover it themselves and share their experiences online. If this turns out to be true, I think it could end up being one of the game's strongest marketing points, especially after its release.
This was a short but interesting preview, and it gives us a much clearer idea of what combat will be like in Requiem. Still, the best thing will be to try it ourselves once it releases. Personally, I'm left with a good impression and a bit of curiosity about that mix of RE2, RE6, and Revelations. We'll see if that stays the same or changes in the final game. That's all for now, everyone. We'll probably get some news during the Game Awards, so we'll be keeping an eye out. If there's anything good, we'll bring it to the channel, so feel free to subscribe, share your thoughts about this gameplay, and let me know whether it convinced you or not. Thanks for watching, greetings to everyone, and see you soon.